I am the person who understands myself best, and I know that those perceptions that I used to carry are not what I currently have. I mean, never satisfied, but always happy, because I might not be where I want to be right now, but I'm enjoying my day to day, and it's centered around the idea that doing good for others will always come back to you, right? The rule of reciprocity, because, and it doesn't even have to.
Hello, you beautiful people. Welcome back to the Long-Term Podcast. I'm your host, Advin Villa. Today, we have double major in Psychology and Sociology, University of Alberta student Yvonne Espino Lopez. We will discuss healthy habits and perspectives, self-awareness, courage to look within to facilitate self-care, passion, and community outreach. And we'll discuss the different types of groups that Yvonne is involved in. He is a phenomenal human being, and I'm so thankful to have met him a couple years ago, the humanities building on campus. Yeah, this is a great episode, and I can't wait for all of you to hear this magnificent episode. Everyone, welcome. Welcome, Yvonne Espino Lopez, everyone.
Hello. Thank you.
Yeah, man. How's your day?
It's been good. It's been a little bit odd, because of like lectures. Occasionally I've missed a few, but we always bounce back. We make connections.
This guy skipped first class.
I'm
in my
so
class,
sorry, guys. Lord, forgive me.
Yeah. So when it comes to healthy habits and perspectives, what daily habits have you found most impactful in maintaining a healthy mindset as a student balancing a double major?
Right. So with that situation, it's a lot of just playing it by ear. I wouldn't consider myself the most organized person. I put a lot on my plate, sure, but I am always running back and forth and just dealing with a lot of stuff. So it's a lot of knowing who I am, understanding how I work, and then just with that understanding, I have to acknowledge like I'm not going to meet every single expectation or achieve every single thing by the time I want to. I'm not afraid of setbacks, though. I've experienced them, and I come back, another day is another day.
There's this quote that comes to mind of, you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. And a person or people at a race, they all have the same goals in mind, and to finish first. But the people who succeed, the ones who make it out and become the best, have instilled better habits than others. Right? And it's about the systems in place. And that's kind of, for me, it resonates so much. And you mentioned that there have been setbacks, and you still come out of it with a
positive
attitude and forward looking. Now, has this always been the case?
No, not at all.
Huh?
So I guess just to I love to put context into things, and I always start right at the beginning. As a little kid, when I describe myself as a little kid, I describe myself as in regards to specifically the examples, like I played soccer as a toddler. I was the ball is the exact quote that I have. I've said that every single time.
The ball.
I was the ball, as in I was big and round. I was a big kid, and I love to describe it like that.
Okay.
Because it's a lot because I always had these issues with how I saw myself, because I compared myself to others, thinking like, oh, this person's they look like that, they're getting this. Shit, I need to do that too. Or it's gonna be this person got this grade, and I'm sitting here thinking I obviously didn't put enough in. I obviously me, compared to them, not I did what I did and I'm going to like consider that for the next play, right? Because it's yeah, it's like if you're looking at it in sports terms, you gotta do it play by play. Like before that whistle blows, you're putting it all in there. You're putting it all on the court. But as soon as you step off for a minute, you assess, you interpret, and you see where those little cracks in the armor are, so that you can fill them in.
So initially, you would look onto other people for advice or kind of feedback, and now you look more onto how you can improve yourself. Did I absorb that correctly?
It's more, I didn't really look to people for advice or feedback. It was more just like, I've always noticed things about people. I'm a pretty heavy observer as an individual. So I'd be seeing people. I'd be seeing how they interact with others, like other friends. Like junior high, I'd be seeing my best friend interact with others, and I'm just like, this dude's got so much right now. Like he's having so much fun. He looks good. Like bro is chill. And I would just immediately compare myself to that, and then be like, I'm not there, right? Like he's here, I'm here, because I look like this, and that was obviously just a very pessimistic thing. But these days now it's changed to looking to people for advice and feedback, and specifically taking that with a grain of salt, because I know that I am the person who understands myself best, and I know that those perceptions that I used to carry are not what I currently have. I mean, now I'm like, as a kid, I was like, no, I need to get shredded someday. Like that's my goal. Now it's like, I want a dad bod. Like not necessarily a dad bod, not like necessarily a dad bod, but like I want to be like a strong man build. Like I want to be big and burly, not
Okay.
broad and shredded. Right. I've come to love the image of myself, and that has been a massive benefit to me.
What brought upon this transition?
Oh wow. Okay. I'd have to say it started most likely in my last year of high school, because I was the heaviest I had ever been, but felt the happiest I ever was in some regards.
Really?
Yeah, because I was with a group that was very inclusive, and just like they were all vibes. There's nothing about the structure. There's nothing about, there was a little bit of drama, but I wasn't part of it. I'm never part of drama, to be honest.
They accepted you for who you were, and so that made you become more complacent.
Yeah, it made me more complacent with who I am, but then I still had like goals to achieve, because sure, I was at my heaviest, but now I was at 200 pounds when I first came here, 210, something like that. Yeah,
man, I saw the previous Instagram pictures you posted, and you've made a lot of progress.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's amazing to look back at things, honestly. That's one of my favorite things to do, is to look back. Not because I'm like, oh, like I did so much work, but it's more like, oh, like it's just there is these certain differences, but then I've kept so much with me, and those things that I've kept, I'm really happy to see, because it's like, the idea of like, so many people have so much kindness and love for others, but they end up losing it because they're used.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so grateful that I haven't lost that kind of thing, or I'm so grateful that I haven't lost my inner childhood. Because I mean, off the bat, I seem like I speak so much differently to most people, just because of the generation that I grew up in and such. But
yeah, I know you mentioned that you grew up in a conservative background or environments, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Being thrusted into university, it's quite the different demographic.
Yeah. I grew up in a rural community just 2 hours north of Edmonton, Athabasca. Pretty chill town. Beautiful place to retire. You will not find me there at 25. I can tell you that right now. It's like the only reason I'm going back is to say hi to my mother, eat food, and leave. That's it. But
How do you
sorry.
approach integrating physical and mental health practices into a busy academic schedule?
Physical and mental health into so I it is a challenge. It is a loose and fast approach because I got 5 courses per term. God bless family supports for like, I'm just blessed with my current situation when it comes to my academics. Like my education is secure in its manner. And all that's left is for me to put in the work and then to put in time for myself as well. Because I am a person and I have to remember that, and just like keeping myself busy outside of school is going to keep my energy at like full, right? Like I got a full tank always because I'm out here seeing people. I'm out here going to the gym and going to little social events. I enjoy like seeing these like little knickknacks and things, I suppose, like the art exhibits on campus. Or I've been meaning to go to the in Rutherford basement. They got a art exhibit. It's literally just, it's called Culinaria. It's just a collection of historical food recipes. And you can go in there and you can get the book. Essentially, you could buy the book, or you could like scan a QR code, I believe, and then get a digital copy.
Oh, dope. It's like people who want the recipes, or people that just want to get into cooking.
I mean, it's like I guess I can't necessarily answer that question, but like my interest for it is because it's like, this is just weird and unique. Like these are historical recipes being collected and cataloged. And now the university is like, come check it out. Like,
and there's so much importance into novelty. Like it just wires you a certain way, and you're actually excited to learn more. Because in the beginning of any facet of life, there's so much knowledge to be learned, but then as you go deeper, it becomes a little bit repetitive and it's kind of really detailed. Like when you first start working out, it's like you learn so much, and not only that, there's all the newbie gains, right? And that's kind of what propels you to want to keep going. But eventually, as you kind of trudge along and get deeper into it, there's just so much more information to be able to improve. You need to get it to put in more work.
You need to pass the plateau.
Yeah. And I think that's the same for culinary arts, for music, for
any sort of interest.
For anything. But I like exploring and getting little knickknacks and taking up little hobbies. Like I plan to get into beat making, man. Like FL Studio. That's big.
I know a few friends. Like I got friends at home who I guess didn't fit the exact stereotype of the rural communities, right? And they were like, I had like these 2 friends I know were wanting to make songs, wanting to make movies, and I'm sitting there just like, that was me at my pessimistic age, and I was just like, you're gonna make a movie? I mean, like, go ahead, but that's a lot of work. Like that's kind of daunting. So that was like
in the job market, right? How are you gonna get a job?
No, for sure. Because it's like I would just focus on like such bad things at that time. But bro was like, he's aspiring for so much, and he's even started like an Instagram car profile. I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna find it later. We're gonna get it. But it's like,
you said previously you were pessimistic about a lot of things, and that's just the mode you operated in. Hey.
The system at the time,
so when you went through a setback, your mind wouldn't be able to see that, it might be a learning lesson, or you might learn from that relationship that didn't work out, or that failure of a test not going so well. What changed?
Hmm. Um, I guess what had changed probably was just finally like realizing how essential community is to that. Um, because it's not like assessing your situation and like finding those cracks in the armor is not something that you will always see, because when it comes to like novelty, you see novelty and you will focus on it, but when you get used to something, then it kind of just becomes, you start to miss these little things. So you always need a like another perspective. um and I think that finally finding a crowd that really helped with that and that just also supported all of my questions was what enabled me to then just like go back into the things that I've experienced and then to be able to look at it in a different way. Like uh there's a fact that like my main coping mechanism is laughing at things. And when it comes to cringe, I'm not like, oh, I can't think about it, I'm gonna spiral into such deep thoughts. Like occasionally that might happen still, but the main reaction I have is just like, bro, that was really stupid. Like just word for word, it's just like I say something, I laugh about it, I keep making comments. I like, it's not ridiculing of myself, but it's just a little bit of a roast.
Mm.
And that is the sign, I guess, of the change. Because now I can look back at it and I can realize, oh, okay, yeah, that's where I fucked up. And then
By letting other people in and hearing their feedback onto how they view the situation that you're in, it helps you be less pessimistic. And by adding humor to the mix, it lightens the burden and just makes life more fun.
mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah. I mean, like it's like that, but then to specify that like adding in humor is in thanks to being able to get feedback from others. Because once you see another person's perspective, then suddenly it becomes obvious. And then you're kind of just sitting there like, oh, bro, that's silly. Like, how did I miss that? So then it's a lot easier to look back at things and just not see it in a light where it's like, um, it's see it in a light of in process rather than like structured, right?
I feel like so many times this is reality, and sometimes I'm thrusted out of it, and I need my friends and family to help reel me back in. And it's a struggle because I don't want to come back. Like I don't, because I just, maybe it's the rumination, maybe it's the bad self-talk and the lack of self-worth, the doubt, and all these questions in my head. But then it's so simple of like, life's not fair. Okay. You're still loved. There's a way. And it's all very simple, cliche, but we make it really tough on ourselves by ruminating and worrying and thinking about, what if this happens? What if I get into a car crash? Oh, is that a disease? Oh, that person likes me. That person didn't. Then you get into this rabbit hole of, oh, this and this. Next thing you know, you've wasted so much time, and you could have been putting that time into studying, into just chilling, into something
Enjoying it.
positive.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, the amount of times me in high school would be sitting there looking at a text message, figuring out how to respond to this girl, just like, see, because she might like me, but she might not. I don't know what to say. I could send this text. I could send this text. I can go one of two routes. And then it's like half an hour passes by and I'm like,
yeah. It's like, why didn't I just do it prior? I could have had so much work. I could have known.
Yeah. Whatever she felt, that moment has faded. The moment is gone right now.
Yeah. We certainly put so much pressure on ourselves when really, in the grand scheme of things, nobody remembers, right? Like I remember so many people I have embarrassed myself in front of, and then I recall that moment to them. They're like, what? Did that happen? Like, I've been obsessing on that thing, me voice cracking in front of the talent show, and you don't even remember? What? Or me slipping on stage or something?
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. Can you share a personal experience where shifting your perspective positively influenced your overall well-being?
Yeah. So I think it was about 2 years ago. I was visiting a friend in Calgary. He had left for work, so I was just in his crib, and I'm like, I didn't have keys to go in and out.
You were just at your buddy's house? And
Yeah.
you just
I was just visiting him for like the weekend. It's like summer started. I'm like, I haven't seen this man for nearly a year. And I've known him since I moved to my hometown, which was at like 7 years old, right?
Mhm.
So I'm like, I need to go there. I need to see him. And one of those days he ends up working. Like he's gone at like noon until 7 p.m. So I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, I'm not gonna stay in this apartment this entire day. I'm not gonna do that. So I'm texting him and he's like, you can just leave through my patio deck. It's because we're on ground level. I'm not jumping
Sure.
off nothing. Don't worry. But like, so I'm just like, okay, yeah. I climb over a little fence and I went on the biggest excursion that I've ever been on, just all by myself. Kind of just went with the vibes. And it's like, it really showcases how a lot of the time your biggest obstacle is just a home built fence. You know, I know we were talking about this earlier and you mentioned like so a lot of the time we can push it over. And that resonates because a lot of the time it's literally just the fact that you're pulling on it instead.
Mm-hmm.
For my situation specifically. But this little excursion that I went on, I drove around all of Calgary and I drove like from north end to the Glenmore Reservoir. And right before I got to the reservoir, I ended up stopping at a restaurant because I'm like, I'm hungry. And I went into this fancy ass Italian restaurant. And I'm like, table for one, please. And the waitress looks at me and she goes, for one? just one. Are you sure? And I'm like, yeah. Completely like dumbfounded. I don't know why she's asking me this question. I'm just like,
yeah. She probably hasn't come across someone who just eating at a restaurant just by themselves.
It's not a common thing. I don't assume.
But there's so much power to it.
Bro, I was sitting there. I didn't even have headphones that day, I don't think. I was just like, I fuck with this place.
There's so much stigma onto eating out alone, doing stuff alone, just the movies alone. But really, at the end of the day, you're just a chill guy who enjoys the magic of cinema. Or you're just a chill guy who loves the aroma of restaurants and
loves public spaces, people watching.
Sophisticated in your palate taste.
Really?
Yeah.
Love
Dude,
that
I love
reference.
that meme. But like, going back to what you said about just these fences, and you climbed out of your friend's, was it like a latch door from the ground?
It's like so the patio door was more so like, it was, yeah, I think it was, it was like a normal door, but then, actually, I think it might have been more so like a window where it's like just cranks open.
Sure.
And then I just like,
but yeah, and then there's the fence. You climbed over the fence,
hopped in my car.
And hopped in your car and went into this little excursion that taught you a lot about yourself, about being alone, about how we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Now, before this, was it like did you not realize how much pressure and how much you have limited yourself because of this mode of thinking?
I think I've just always been aware of how much I limit myself, because going back to like comparing, like there's healthy comparisons to other people and there's like excessive comparisons to other people. Today, I believe I do healthy comparisons. Occasionally, we dip into excessiveness.
Nobody's perfect.
Yeah. I mean, we're always going to have drawbacks, but when it comes to, I'm like trying to remember the exact phrasing of your question, but it's just, repeat that for me.
The question, can you share a personal experience where shifting your perspective positively influenced your overall well-being?
Okay, yeah. Yeah. So then I do believe that I've always limited myself. I do believe I was always aware of that. But then it was just like, oh, there's a reason for it. Like there was an intellectualization behind why I never changed up until recently. Because after that, I was just like, oh, wait, hold on. Yeah. Like you pointed out, like, yeah, I actually enjoy just doing this by myself. Like I should really just do more things by myself, because it's not only difficult to plan time with friends, especially now as a student, but also it's just you have to find something that everybody likes, and then you don't always get to do everything you like to the degree you do, right? Like there's a good few times where I'm out somewhere with friends and they want to leave before I do, or it's like they want to do something else at the same sort of event, right? Like they want to go to the other side. Now, because of that excursion, I've been like, oh, okay, y'all do that. I'm going to go over this way. I'm going to enjoy myself doing this because I'm not really interested in that.
Yeah, you don't have to do what everybody else is doing at the sacrifice of your own self-worth, right? Or your own enjoyments even.
Yeah.
And a lot of people can't stomach that. And a lot of people can't just sit by themselves because they're so used to having someone telling them what to do or just being judged. But at the end of the day, this question comes up to mind and I think about it often. And I struggle all the time with being comfortable in my own skin because I always see all the flaws and just it's kind of that tug and pull of just wanting to attain peace. And this question comes in mind of, would you rather have everyone in the world love you but you hate yourself, or would you rather you hate yourself but everyone love you? It's like those are extreme cases, of course, and usually it's never one of the or. But if you were to choose, I'd argue that majority of people would rather have the world hate them but them love themselves. Because you could be locked up in prison, but if you're so peaceful, if you're just at peace with yourself and you don't need to prove anything to anyone, and sure, you still do the things that you need to do, but you do it because it's fun, because you want to do good in the world. But you look in the mirror and you see what you like, and you like what you see.
Yeah.
Right?
No, that's fair. I do think that it's also like community and the group that you surround yourself with is such a major influence. It's like when your community doesn't support or just doesn't also like establish this understanding of like, yeah, like doing things by ourselves is chill. Like I do my own hobbies at home, and like when you like converse about that, then that also makes it aware, that makes it salient, right? So then you finally you gain a window into a space where you know that you can just do your own thing a lot of the time and still be part of this. Like a lot of the time we just get too scared to ask the questions or to establish a new kind of level of on like for friendship within friendships to then pick up on the fact that like you do your thing, I'm gonna do mine, and we can converge in the middle like hour later. Right?
That reminds me of just sitting in silence with someone while doing your own thing. Like you see this when you're studying with a buddy and you guys will understand that, oh, you have different classes, but you're studying on two different subjects, but then you'll understand that, and then you'll converge once in a while just to check up, hey, how's the studying going? And the compassion and the love is there. Okay. And I like that you brought that up, where you can do your own thing, and maybe your friends and your family members may not find pleasure in that thing, but they can support you and they can cheer you on. And surrounding yourself with people who uplift you, people who want you to do good and who don't just say they want you to do good, they actually feel it. And I think there's this quote of happiness is not merely in doing good for others, it's in also thinking of others positively. Because I've been in modes of thinking where I actually generally just want my bro to succeed. And those are just, I'm in a healthy state of mind. I know I'm my healthiest is when I actually want all my friends and family to succeed. I know I'm not in the healthiest if I see that and I'm jealous and I want to tear them down and I want to pull them down. And that's where I gain kind of sympathy for people that do just hate, right?
Yeah.
They just want to see the world burn, because it's like, that's not healthy.
It's
Maybe you've surrounded yourself with people that just are like that, and maybe you think that's the way to go about in the world, but that's not a good community. But yeah, I know you do a lot of self introspection. Hey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm a big thinker.
Yeah. I know. Yvonne and I were just having a conversation on the bus, and he said this: your brain is like a unlocked door.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Go on about that.
Okay, so I kind of just explained that, like, when it comes to me looking back at things or just thinking stuff over, it is an unlocked door to the point that I can. It's even like the door mechanism doesn't exactly work, I suppose. I don't know the word, like the name.
Maybe
for
there
all
is
the
no
parts.
door.
Maybe there is no door. Maybe it's a swing door. Matter of fact, I think I prefer that idea.
Is it transparent?
No, I think it's like the nice, like Wild West, like wooden ones.
Oh,
I like that aesthetic.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of suits.
The screws, they're well maintained.
Hopefully, I would have to say so, because it's always intentional going in and going out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm never gonna be like, my spiral in my thoughts doesn't occur because I just got hit with a thought. It occurs because I've gone too deep into a thought. So I'm somebody who doesn't, I'm not afraid of looking back at what I've done or looking into what I think needs to be worked on. Right. I look at it in the process. I look at it in a perspective of in the process and not needing to be changed, or not like not as it is. It's just always going to be I think that's where I'll leave that, actually.
Yeah. What motivated you to develop a strong sense of self-awareness, and how has it shaped your approach to self-care?
My childhood. The way I grew up was just a lot of me in my room playing with toys. And I mean, like, me being as observational as I am to certain things, of course. I mean, like, I do miss some stuff. I can be a little clueless. But when it comes to, like, picking up people's mannerisms, voices, the way they talk, or even, like, their body language, I can pick up on that, I guess, pretty quick. And I think that's always been there. So I'd be in my room as a kid and I'd pick up on people, like, get their perspective, sort of like see the perspective and then be able to just repeat it. But then with all the toys specifically, right? So I'd be like that type of thing, where I've got, like, one character acts this way, one character acts this way, and I get those perspectives or those, like, character designs from fictional characters, from family, from friends, right? And I think that that early discovery of, oh, there are so many ways to look at one thing, made me realize, why am I going to be so afraid of only living life as I'm currently doing? Like, I guess kind of like you mentioned, sometimes you're flung out of reality. I imagine that being like not being able to acknowledge that everything is as diverse and intricate as you, right? So when you acknowledge that, as much effort as it might be, and you can just do that kind of thing really benefits me in being able to critique myself in a more healthy manner, I suppose.
By absorbing all these different perspectives at a young age, you were playing with a lot of these action figures, and a lot of the toys, you gave them the characters. And by doing so, you were able to give them the traits. And by doing that over time, you were able to empathize with others better.
Yeah.
And understand yourself because of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's more of like this, it was like this indirect approach, I suppose. But yeah, it's definitely made empathizing easier. And it has also definitely, I think it's made me more indecisive a little bit. That's something that might have just popped in my head.
Yeah.
Because that's a big thing about me as well, is when I have these kinds of conversations or when I'm just thinking about stuff like this, things hit me like out of nowhere. And I'm like, oh, whoa, hold on. That makes sense. Like that's clicking right now. Like I can delve into that. I can think about that. And then I'm going to be considering it for a while.
That's the price you pay for being open-minded, man.
Mm-hmm.
Is you're always faced with cognitive dissonance. I find by talking to so many people that contradict some of my values, that do not necessarily agree with my point of view, that may even be novel in the way I look at life, I am tested. And do I get angry? Because a lot of people who don't engage in conversation where they are questioned, because our sense of character and why we feel disrespected is because it's much deeper than just somebody cuts you off, or it's somebody calls you a name. It's like, what, you called me a loser? And then when you ruminate on that, and maybe it is true. That's why when people say, oh, like you're only angry because it is true, is maybe you have called yourself that. Maybe it is somewhat of an idea that you have played with. And where was I going with this? Essentially, a lot of us, all of us, we experience cognitive dissonance every single day. And by engaging in a conversation with someone, you put yourself at risk of being hurt, of being judged, of all these negative feelings. But if you take it with a grain of salt and you actually listen to that person, instead of being judgy, you hear them out because they have lived a life just like you.
Mm-hmm.
Does this make sense?
Yeah. I'm picking up, excuse me again. I'm picking up the fact that like having like you when you have sympathy for others, you are also able to, I guess you're more resilient to dissonance, because when it comes to somebody saying something about you and you're kind of like sitting there like, what do you mean by that? When you have sympathy for that person, you understand that they're as complex as you. They're looking at it from their morals, their approach.
Yeah.
And that is going to influence their perspective. But that doesn't dictate you, right? So it's a challenge to be resilient against dissonance. But I mean, honestly, I guess it's one of my favorite experiences, because I'm always wanting to improve rather than to just stay where I am. I got a little phrase that I love to say. I don't say it enough these days, actually, but it's always, it goes, never satisfied, but always happy. Because I might not be where I want to be right now, but I'm enjoying my day to day. And so long as I keep picking up new things and keep finding nice little gems to hold on to, I'm good. I'm happy. I'm feeling fulfilled. I'm doing what I need to do, and the rest will follow.
It's all you can really do every single day
Mm-hmm.
is you try your best and the rest will follow. I mean, there's so many things out there in the world. There's vast amounts of information. You can't possibly master every single one of them. But it's just trying your best, right? That we're not all geniuses. We're not all Einsteins.
Mm-hmm.
But
And you got to be selective too. I mean, like
yeah,
my biggest thing as well that I've picked up on, specifically when it comes to social media, is like you got to be, or even like when I go into my head, right? I mentioned you have. It's always intentional. It's always got significance. You in social media. I believe that what keeps me from having this sort of like poor relationship with it, or from burning out even, is to always do something that I genuinely like, something that I identify with. So it's kind of like keeping unnecessary dissonance out of my space.
things that give you life, right?
Mm.
You just got to keep running towards it. Have there been moments when self-reflection revealed challenges you weren't initially aware of? How did you address them?
Big goals. Big goals are going to be my biggest enemy, I suppose, because there's always an. I guess I'm stuck on thinking on Durkheim's study on suicide. Now, this is not going to go into suicide. Don't worry, guys. But it is more so just about like he speaks in a passage. He speaks about how humanity lives life at like with this intention to just always improve, to just always keep running forwards, running for life. Now, the issue is when that goal is too big or even unattainable, that can cause a lot of harm for you. And it can even cause a little bit disorientation, because when you're like on the path of life, when you turn around and look back, you see, oh, like I went so far, like I've done so much. But when your goal is unattainable, you turn around and you're still at the same point where you were, basically, right? So as you move forwards, that path keeps growing. So I think that when it came to the self-perception that showed the biggest challenge, it was the fact that my goals are unattainable. And now I have to switch up my attitude. I have to switch up what I'm looking for. And it's not going to be, I wanna get shredded, or I wanna look like all the white boys back at hometown. No, not anymore. Now it's like, oh, I want to be like peak me. Like, who am I then? Okay, let's figure that out. That's the first goal. Who am I? What do I like? Right? That's another goal. That's something smaller. So it's being able to just like look inside and realize like I set too big expectations a lot of the time. So I'm going to have to like reel it back, play it day by day, and just enjoy it.
Yeah. I think even Jim Carrey said that I wish everyone had all the things that they wanted and aspired to be happen. I don't think that's the exact quote, but if everything in your life that you wanted happened, you realize that that's not the answer, right? And it's the happiness that we feel it's within, and we do have a massive amount of control in living a fulfilling life. Because what we see in social media, what we see in movies, and to the riches and the lives of others, these are vastly different lives. Like, it's so complex that we can't even grasp in a 2-hour read or conversation or an entire book that doesn't even encapsulate what a human being is like. And there's all these different virtues, different moments with our parents, with our friends, core memories. And yeah, having too big of goals, man, can really set up many for failure, because you have to be realistic with your capabilities, right? You have to look at the if you want to be an NBA player and you're 5'6", I mean, good luck, right? I mean, there is who's that?
Muggsy Bogues.
Yeah.
Muggsy Bogues is like
Spudbeck, something like that too.
he's like 5 foot.
Yeah.
Like within the range of like 5 foot to 6 foot.
Yeah,
I
like
can't.
it is possible.
But you got to start early. Like you need dedication
you have
for
to
that
grind,
kind of thing.
and you have to. There is a lot of sacrifice, and is that really going to make you happy? Right? Are you gonna do you want more time with your family and friends? Like a lot of people that we see in the top echelons of success, usually they have sacrificed a normal life. Right? Those Olympians of training 24/7, dialing in the rest and the food. Do you really want that? And something's fueling them to be able to want that, right? It's like maybe a lack of self-worth. Maybe the achievements make them feel alive. Right? Versus you, maybe a cup of coffee is just all it takes. How do you balance being self-critical and practicing self-compassion in your personal growth journey?
Community. I'm going to go back to that because I mean, when I have people I know who care, when I have family who I know, like anytime I come home and I say something, my mom picks up on, and that sounds like I'm saying I'm stupid. She's like, she gives me a little quote. She gives me a little statement. She goes, "Cause you're a smart kid. You're a smart kid, right? You
Reeling
got
you
this."
back in.
Yeah, reeling me back in. But then it's even like, it's not even that I'm gonna be like in that little. I'm gonna be on that downhill or on that slope. It could just be like, it's the fact that they care about me, right? When it comes to community, it is such an essential factor to being able to manage healthy and unhealthy things, because we're social beings. We're going to be comparing ourselves to other people all the time. So when we're able to have the conversation of like, how do you do it? Or like, what does it look like for you? That helps them and you, because it gets them thinking, right? And it gets you another perspective. And I mean, like, it's such a resiliency to, it's a major shield, I guess is a better way to put it, to any sort of pessimism or a like loss of hope, right? When you got somebody behind you, you got like more hands on the job.
Yeah. I think my mom has instilled in me the belief of believing in oneself, because she believed in me before I even believed in myself. I feel like that's what moms do. Parents that do leave a positive impact on a kid's life is they ground us, right? When we chastise ourselves and we think that, oh, I'm not good enough, I'm stupid, I'm dumb, everything I do is a mess. It's having that community, and it all starts within the household of just having those times of compassion. Yeah. How's it?
Hurts.
Is it?
It's just a little tight, but it's chill.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's so amazing to have parents, and especially like mothers. Like I'm a lot closer to my mom. So then it didn't just teach me to believe in myself, but also to believe in others. Just because of like, she's a very steadfast and like in control person. So then she kind of like, she has expectations of others, and then she knows how to like communicate that, I guess. So things work out for her.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, to be able to be able to be able to like communicate at that level would be amazing. But it's just something, it's something in the process. And yeah, you just pick up so much from other people, and like that belief in others that my mom kind of instilled in me has grown, honestly, but beyond what she wanted. But it's something that I think is also like very, I think it's very beneficial to my specific, the way I approach things, the things that I want to achieve involve this grandiose belief in people, this expectation that we're all capable of just like doing good for each other, or even just caring about each other.
It's that belief that propels us to accomplish phenomenal things that previously were impossible, and then we eventually do it. Prior to that, it didn't exist. Now, just believing in it is the first kind of initial steps towards materializing it into real life, into being successful.
Mm-hmm.
What are the biggest lessons your mom has instilled in you?
Don't be afraid of being different.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very important one. And I mean, like, it's not only been in a cultural context, but also just like an individual context, right? So I may be Latin American. I may have been a Latin American in a rural community, but I was also a man who knew and wanted to express himself.
Mm-hmm.
So, not being afraid to showcase that was something that's been like recently achieved to the level that I'm very happy with. But it's also like, it's empowering, you know? I mean, like, being able to improve and being able to change into what you want and not what the crowd looks like is very, very amazing.
It's powerful, man.
Mm-hmm.
We revere the people that
Stuck out and like, yeah.
stuck out, went against the grain. Like, look at Martin Luther King. Just, he risked so much to be able to stand up for what he believed in. And just when there's a chance of pain and getting hurt by other people, yet you still prioritize the truth, then you're living a life that's true to you, and that's, nobody can take it away from you.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure.
And that's so powerful. Even the day to day of like, are you willing to stand up for what is right? And it doesn't necessarily have to be this grand gesture or this fights against, evil.
Injustice and yeah.
It could just be what's true to you. Like, are you hanging out with people that have great values? Are you helping that friend that's in need? Are you being nice to yourself, right? Are you being truthful to what you see? Are you doing the best that you can?
Yeah.
And by that premise, if you just follow that, I believe everybody would be able to materialize or fulfill their role, their niche.
I think it's also even like acknowledging that also allows you to accept what you're ready for. Because I mean, when you mention like doing your best, or like before a lot of those examples, I even thought of like, I was thinking like, are you currently, like, what are you going to do right now? Are you going to lock in, or are you going to dilly dally?
Yeah.
Right. And I know that's like such silly phrasing, but I love silly phrasing. Am I going to speak formally, or am I going to speak informally. I'm gonna do it informal. I'm gonna enjoy it. When it comes to communication, I find that I can get pretty confusing, but I really enjoy it. I really enjoy just being able to chat, just being able to say what I think, and if I'm not ready to ready for something, then I'm not gonna push myself to do something.
Well, as long as that is the truth for yourself
Mhm.
and you're not hurting anyone, and then you're fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Help a homie. Tell me about it.
Yeah. This is a group that I found to be really interesting and inspiring, honestly. I mean, they are Help a Homie's a student-led organization that started out as just a few friends, and now they've started their own club on campus, University of Alberta. So they are a lot more accessible to students, right? Available, and just hoping to expand. I know that just from one meeting with them. But myself, I'm really looking forward to actually getting into the work that they do, because they do a lot of community outreach, right? So they're going out and handing food and clothing resources to houseless populations, which I think is such an important thing and meaningful thing to me, coming from a collectivist culture and having this emphasis on on caring about others, right? Supporting people and doing good.
Yeah. I know they do they do some charity events with giving food out to homeless people and
Mhm.
people that need the resources.
Yeah.
And what gravitated you towards this organization?
So off the bat, it's going to be the fact that they're also students. Like, they go to our university, they are pushing forwards in their careers, and they find the time to be able to help out others, to be able to offer this sort of support, and to just show that a homie doesn't have to be someone you see often, right? I mean,
Yeah.
men in general will not see one of their bros for 3-4 months, and they start chopping it up like they never left, right?
So what role does community outreach play in fostering meaningful social change through Help a Homie?
I think it's the fact that with current situations in our city and current students struggling through so many things, from financial to nutritional to just academic and social issues that they're struggling with. They got to work and balance all of these kinds of checks and tabs. To be able to establish a club that normalizes and enables helping others in that sort of way, it's beyond the idea of sharing, giving your neighbor sugar, right? This isn't my neighbor, but I'm going out there and I'm gonna be sharing a little bit of love, and I'm gonna be doing that with other students. I'm gonna be doing that with people who got my back, who are going through the same thing that I am, right? And I mean, yeah, so it's all about normalizing the idea, and about showing that any person is a person, and regardless of what somebody does, they could be your best friend, right? They could be your homie.
In what ways can we bring more awareness to this group?
Well, that's what I hope to have done today, I suppose, and hope to continue to share just throughout my own personal life, people who interact with me who might be interested. You can always search up helpahomie.ca. They got their own little website showcasing their team, I even got it here actually. Like I had a meeting with their president and their volunteer coordinator, and very charming people, very sweet, very just chill. You know, they got like, I mean, they were also on campus by the time we're doing this online meeting, and they're all that really just showed me like, oh yeah, like they're not. I'm in my third year. They might be a year older if I'm correct, but they're still in it, right? Like I know a lot of people who are a year older who are kind of like they're on the last legs, so they're taking it chill. But no matter where you're at in this university, the club is something that's available and shows that you can do it, you know? So I mean, like, help a homie, give it a glance, give it a look. Shout out Jonah, shout out uh everybody on there, you know, the VPs and such. But yeah, you can even check out Help a Homie, or like at Help a Homie on Instagram. They got their own Instagram account. Really nice. Every Sunday they just go out and they hand out food. So it's really sweet things to see. Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's fantastic to see that there are groups out there to help those in need. Hey, I'm so thankful to be a part of a world where we help each other. We try the best that we can, because certainly there's limited resources, and then there's just corruption here and there. But you know what? There are the good out there that try their best, and at the end of the day, you know, it's all we can really do.
Mm-hmm.
So there's so many people out there struggling. How do you know who to help? Do you kind of just go, oh, I want to help the homeless that day, and or like the students? Because it's just, I find there's so many groups out there. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
even like there's so many awareness days. Like, where do you know to put your resources to?
With what you're interested in, with your truth, I suppose, from what we were talking about earlier, because it's like you're always going to do something that is that you're capable of and that you are comfortable doing within like as well as like like these extra like grace spaces where you can kind of step out of the comfort zone, right? So I think it's especially important to just recognize who you are and what you're good at, so you can always help in different ways. You can always like if you're a social person and you are if you're extroverted specifically, like you find enjoyment in just going out and meeting new people, like this is probably something for you. If you are open to all kinds of walks of life and or don't get triggered too easily, I guess, because a lot of these stories or a lot of situations I have to imagine are insane or just very, very like can be triggering in that regard. But yeah, just do what you feel comfortable with and a little more. And I think that you're always going to find yourself putting your resources where you want to, where you need to. Keep up with it. Yeah, the rest will follow.
So what gravitates you to volunteering?
It's going to go back to how my upbringing again. My mother raising a belief that I drank tea too quickly.
Matcha. It's good stuff.
Yeah. But it's centered around the idea that that doing good for others will always come back to you, right? The rule of reciprocity. Because, and it doesn't even have to be physical, right? Like for me specifically, I'm a pretty extroverted person, so I find a lot of enjoyment and gain a lot of energy from these kinds of things. I recently have really seen the power of community, of like communal identity, social identity being centered around that kind of thing. It's and the fact that like there is such a community that is kind of just like it's segregated, it's covered up. We don't want to think about it, but when you do put in the thought, when you put in the effort, there is so much that can come from that. So there's that.
Yeah. For me, I feel so much less alone if I feel like I'm with people for a greater cause,
Mhm.
versus if I'm in my own head and I do things just for me, it's a lot more lonely. It's a lot less motivating versus when people are relying on me and there are other homies
Mhm.
all around me.
Yeah.
I'm just empowered. Like I want to keep going. I want to conquer the world.
Mhm.
You know? Like I want to do whatever objective the group stands for.
Yeah.
And if it's for the good, all the better.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, like I guess that's like the best scenario for groupthink, because in those moments, like I can understand what you mean by feeling empowered, right? So it is very special to be in those instances and then to be playing that support role, to be a successful and like a central support role is very rewarding in my mind, in my experience. It can be tasking, but when you also occupy yourself with other things to like keep your energy, to sustain your passion for your kindness, for your extroversion, you will keep going.
Yeah. And you mentioned the rule of reciprocity too.
Mm-hmm.
Just I'm a firm believer of karma. I don't know. Every time I do something wrong, I always get just smacked right across the face right after, or it's delayed.
Mm-hmm.
Like it happens 2 years later, and like, oh, it's because I disrespected Yvonne.
Right.
You know, that's why
How could you?
have crippling depression now, or
That's crazy.
got hit by a bus. You know?
That's crazy.
But
Lord knows I wouldn't wish that on you.
but just there's so much good by just doing good for another person, and then just have that person, maybe not to you, but they may spread that kindness to another person. It's like the ripple effect, and which it also works in the opposite, right? But why choose bad when you can choose good every time?
Yeah.
Like, it's just, it makes this world a happier place.
Mm-hmm.
It makes this world a lot more bearable.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, like, it's going back to the idea of like, we should care about other people. Like, before the world got as big and as global as it was, we were so reliant on each other. We were needing each other's talents to do, like, to just make it through it, right? And I think there's a big thing about being Canadian as well, is that, especially in the wintertime, like the first time I tried to drive in the winter, my car was stuck in the snow. Like, just there was enough snowfall that it wouldn't roll, it wouldn't go. So these two neighbors just came out of nowhere and they're just rocking the car. Like, that's just Canadian hospitality, right? And it's like, it's not even about karma or even about reciprocity, really. It's not about that. It's just an effect that follows. It's more about just understanding that there's more than you, right? Why do we not take thirds from an event with family? Because we know there's other people. Like, shit, I'm sure I might like want more, but I can tell you right now, my aunt hasn't eaten enough. Like, she wants more. I know that. Go grab some. Like, please be welcome, right? So it's just wanting to. It's the desire to share, right? It is the yeah, I guess it's just wanting to normalize, like, we can share things and we can get things done better when we work together.
And it leaves a massive impact, man. I remember this guy saved me by I slipped off of this it's like 30 feet we were working, or 20 feet. It was a dangerous fall. I would have broken my leg.
Yeah.
And last second he caught me by my shirt,
Mm-hmm.
and I would have just slipped to whatever injury I was gonna get. And I'll never forget that guy.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the look of concern in his eye, and just me just looking down, going, wow. And I don't know, when I think of that moment, I just feel so loved. Like, and I'm sure that wasn't his intent, but I just felt so safe, that the fact that another human being who barely knew me did that for me.
Yeah.
And I know there's countless evidence all around the world which that is the case if you look for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, like, it's also like, I guess the way that I'm looking at it is like, it's feeling loved might even be just feeling human, right? Because in that moment, you were another person who just didn't matter because of who you were, but because you simply were, right? And I think that is an amazing way to live life, because when you can really just think of like people as they are, then you can really just like, you can just push for greater heights and understand people better, empathize with them better, communicate better, achieve bigger things, because you're going to be putting more effort into things. You're going to be putting more effort into people that you really, really want to be putting that effort into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, being human is all we really want to feel, like feeling validated for our feelings, and feeling like we have a place in this chaotic world.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it all goes back to community and just who we surround ourselves with. And there's so much love out there, man.
Yeah.
So much. If only we could monetize that. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, to be fair, there are so many resources that are just not advertised enough, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that. But
you can volunteer at so many places and actually feel like one with the community.
mm-hmm.
Like, if you don't have anywhere to go to, if you have no friends or family, I always suggest for people to start going to the gym. You're just eventually, a guy will want to use your machine and ask you how many sets you've got left, and you'll be like 2, and then that could just be an introduction to, hey, what's your name?
Yeah.
Eventually you'll see them and you build this friendship. Maybe take it outside the gym. And
for sure.
Yeah, there's volunteering,
mm-hmm.
charity work.
And for like the more dire situations where it's like you don't have friends or family, you've got CMHA, like peer support, wellness, like there's like all this kind of stuff that you can really interact with. You need help with something. I mean, 211 is a big number for like just major resources. I guess more so like mental distress, emotional distress that you're experiencing is going to be, emotional distress is more so towards like distress line, which has their own specific number. I sadly don't, I haven't memorized that. But then there's even like I recently, okay, so Canvas is another nonprofit, and they are opening a little section in WEM. That's where they're actually having like all of their counseling going to be done. And it's just a place where youth can go in and hang out, right? It's specifically for youth and in supporting them in their mental health journeys and such. Volunteering really it's a great way to gain experience. It's a great way to learn about how things work in this current system that we call life. And it's also just fun, man.
Yeah, man, if only they had like an undergrad just for volunteering, hey?
Mm-hmm.
Like no assignments, no anything. All you do is volunteer. Like for all 120 credits. That'd be dope.
That'd be very interesting.
Yeah. My friend just started this club, and they actually just got approved.
Mm.
Jaden Mackey's her name. I think you guys have met, the Korean girl, and she's the club is called Memory Makers, and every week, I'm sure there's no laid-in rules yet or kind of what the premise of the club is, but essentially you just meet however many times per week or per month with people who suffer from dementia, Alzheimer's, and just letting them feel a part of something and just listening to them about their stories. And a lot of these people don't have their loved ones visit as often, and it's just listening to them and validating that they are still human and then they are still a part of us.
Yeah.
Wow. Another good club.
Man. There's a lot of good clubs at U of A.
So many, bro.
For students ever trying to just like get involved in some kind of community, it doesn't have to be like, there's so many clubs where it's like, oh, let's just all hang out, or like hide and seek club. I recently, every person that I've mentioned hide and seek club to, they didn't know it was a thing.
Really?
Yeah. And I found it like my first day on campus. Like the club fair is a resource. There are so many resources, and I will always be putting them out there because they are so helpful and they are so beneficial to people's mental health, physical health, right? All sorts of things.
Yeah, man. Around October, actually all of winter, when my mental health tanks. I don't know. Like I reflected recently and realized that, there seems to be a pattern here. It's like every single year. It's like, I always say it's the worst and best years of my life because I think it is true. I have such deep kind of mental health issues around one part of the year, but then in other parts of the year when the sun is out, I feel so euphoric. Like, yeah. But still though, just trying your best every single day, and it's still doing what you can, the resources you've got,
and meeting with the people who you know care about you and who you care about, right?
Yeah.
So you always got to socialize here and there. If you just stay locked up, you're gonna be locked up.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah. But yeah, man, are there any last words to the viewers, listeners?
Shout out to all before me and all who follow.
Yeah.
You're doing great things. You're going to continue doing great things.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's a privilege and an honor to be here.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you, and I'm so thankful. We met a couple years ago in humanities. The piano.
Yeah, the piano. We were talking about this on the bus.
Study there, man.
I don't know. They don't have headphones.
Yeah.
Because it's the pedway to humanities, and there's people occasionally that just show up, play piano because it's part of their course. It's part of their degree. Like, okay, go you. I was trying to have a conversation. I chose a poor spot, but it was definitively one of the deepest conversations I just had out of the blue on campus.
Yeah, that was deep, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And as always, to everyone listening and watching, there is a place for you in this chaotic world. Never lose hope. Strengthen your faith and keep it long term. Yvonne Lopez.
Hello.
Yvonne
Espino Lopez.
Espino Lopez. There we go.
Lovely stuff.
Peace.